Welcome, everybody. Here we are starting the last week of April with a lot of things. We're celebrating and closing this week with two things. First of all, happy birthday to the King of the Netherlands. Hip, 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 hurrah! My name is Maria, co-founder at 7 Days to Go, and we have this going on called the Expert Pool, which is well, I think that you know what it is, but for those who are new, we are a pool of plus 40 experts across the globe. And today we are actually going to fly a little bit to Sao Paulo, Brazil, and introduce you to Katerina, our special guest for today. Katerina, please, welcome.
Hi, good morning from Sao Paulo.
Hello, Katerina.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me.
Por favor.
Thank you, Maria, for buying me coffee today.
Yes, what are you grabbing? I will show you mine as well. Are we both Americano? Mira.
Brazilian coffee,
Look
of
at
course.
this. Look at this. Handmade stuff.
And I'm addicted to it, so it's almost over.
Me too. We're both like...
Yeah. But here's almost lunchtime, so I have to take a break, the coffee break, and then...
this is a perfect moment for a break. So for people in the Netherlands, it's closing, now it's 5 p.m. So it's like, this coffee to relax. In Colombia, it's the coffee to get started. In Sao Paulo, it's the coffee to take a break.
Exactly. It's always coffee time.
Anyway, it's always time for coffee. We're coffee lovers. We love talking about really useful stuff. And today, that we're celebrating King's birthday, we're going to talk about content, which in marketing is the king. So, hip, 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 hurrah. Yes.
Definitely.
So before we get started, let's talk about Katerina. How we met, what are you about? I will tell you my little personal introduction. So Katerina, BFF, she's Greek. Imagine, she speaks English like an Americana. I always call her gringa. Because her English is so perfect. She speaks like so many languages. I don't know, like 5, whatever. I was so lucky to live with Katerina for one year. So we did a nice Spanish-Greek combination, and her Spanish is basically perfect by now, right? Well, now Portoñol.
Por supuesto.
So, and apart from that, well, she's, ¿cómo se dice esto? How do you say it? Black belt in content marketing, yes. She's a master. She was always creating content, always showing me all the tricks and tips, everything that you don't find in this type of white papers or whatever. No, she's very dynamic, really up to date when it comes to marketing, and that's why we said it's a time to put this in a random way, in the way that we set up the whole agenda for April. We said what is useful right now, that we have this content boom, like bomba, around content, how to stay relevant and really how to fine-tune your content marketing or start with it. Because many people are just posting out there and finding a lot of nice things to post in stories, but it's not consistent. It doesn't have a strategy behind. So we're going to talk about this today. Katerina, anything that you have to add about your introduction?
You make me blush. That's all I can say. Thank you so much for the wonderful intro. I'm very excited to talk about content marketing strategies today because, as you said, there's a lot of efforts out there, and especially now that there's a little bit of downtime for many entrepreneurs, it's the perfect time to focus a little bit more on that, build your plan, and make sure that you have the right results. So,
of course. So let's get started. I have a lot of questions for you. We have our coffees. If you're watching this right now live, feel free to put, we're not going to be only asking me, myself, and I. So if you have any questions for Katerina, please post everything in the comments, and we're going to have a time for Q&A. Don't feel shy. We're all there to get started. Yeah? So grab your coffee and let's start. Chin Chin. I also play special instrumental music, bossa nova, okay? Especially for you. Next time we do the Greek one. So let's do an introduction. So, just to get started, what is content marketing?
Right.
Let's, be on the same page.
There's a little bit of the impression that content marketing is a buzzword right now, but in fact is a term that was coined as early as 2001. And basically it is used to describe the way brands developed branded content to market themselves to their consumers. But the reality is that content and storytelling exists for a long, long time, ever since, we developed languages and, people start communicating with each other. So for brands, I think we can trace it back to the beginning of the 20th century. So there's, for example, in 1904, Jello, the brand with a famous gelatin dessert. They developed a book of recipes for their customers. So that was a form of content marketing, very early form of content marketing. So today, basically, content marketing involves the creation of content that doesn't necessarily sell the brand or its products, but it's more about creating value for the audience. It's about content that is helpful, useful, or interesting to the one who reads it.
So what we're doing right now is content marketing.
Definitely, exactly.
Oh,
that's it.
Yeah, okay.
This is content marketing. It's about, right now there's so much noise in the marketing area from brands. They're selling all kinds of products, that the consumers are overwhelmed. So to avoid, to sort of make sense of this noise, this form of marketing emerged, where you focus on really building long-term relationships with your audience and offering value to them instead of just throwing products in sales pitches
which
in
is
their
also
face.
which is also the principles of inbound marketing, like create all this lead content, which is basically that people think that what they're bringing to the table is valuable instead of just saying sell.
Exactly.
So
In fact,
it's not sales oriented necessarily. It's about creating everything around your brand and making your audience or potential customer, feel interested.
Exactly. Yeah, content marketing actually is a big part of inbound marketing, and it's about this strategic approach to creating, distributing. This distribution is also a big part of content marketing. The content that is valuable, relevant, and consistent. Consistency is also a big factor, as we mentioned at the beginning of content marketing.
So, in a nutshell, why is it important? Why should you consider, like, let's say, I post something on social media here and there, or I do this and these efforts. Why is it important to really think about it in a strategic way as content, as you're showcasing right now?
Yeah, because first of all, it's about content marketing is the marathon, not the sprint, right? So in the long run, if you want your business to be long living and successful, you have to think of long-term strategies. So the fundamental is focusing on the consumer versus the brand, and that can really speak to your consumers. So instead of pitching your products or your services, you focus more on what your consumer needs, what are some questions you have to answer, and then in terms of tangible results, content is always valuable for brands because it's an asset, especially when it comes to creating content that is evergreen, so content that does not have an expiration date, but it offers consistent value to your audience. So this is a very valuable asset for any brand to have, and it will last for many years and will have an impact for many years for your brand. It can help you retain your audience much better. So obviously, if you have a website or if you're a mobile brand, then if your content is good and addresses your audience's questions, then people will be coming back for more. And eventually they will also, when it comes to making a purchase decision, they will consider your brand first. And also, if you are consistent about content marketing, that is going to help, first of all, stand out of competition. It's going to help you to develop trust with your audience, as we said, but also is going to improve your authority. It's going to help you build authority for your brand. You're going to be viewed as an expert from your target audience, and that's very important. And then when it comes to marketing results, obviously, as you mentioned, content marketing is a strategy of inbound marketing. So it's going to help you to generate leads. Eventually, we're talking about blog posts or ebooks, and it's going to help, of course, by default, also improve your conversions in the long term.
And you can even see it in performance market when you're checking how your campaigns are going. You can see the clear impact of testing creatives. And normally creatives are, of course, basically content. So when you are even testing this image or this video with this type of copy, what you're doing is basically seeing what content performs best. So it's, of course, not only about optimizing target audience or segments, but really what you're literally bringing to the table. So that's the relevance.
Exactly. It's tangible results at the end of the day, because oftentimes there is this difficulty to track your KPIs, where people are like, I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this later, but we're very hesitant because, okay, how do I track the success of my content marketing? In fact, it can get you sales and it can get you leads. So it's very, very tangible, the impact that you're going to get on your business.
Let's go then first in the characterization about content marketing, and then we talk about results and tracking.
Great.
So what are some different forms of content marketing? We have so many different formats, and every time there's something new. Of course, I have my account on TikTok. Okay, whatever. But let's talk about diversity formats.
So so video is the number one form of media use in content marketing strategy. Obviously, video works. You've heard about this before. So if you're on TikTok, I guess you're in a good way. So video followed by blogs and ebooks are the most preferred forms, the most common forms of content marketing, the ones that work also best. But content marketing can involve a variety of different forms of content. What we're doing right now, as you very well said, is a form of content marketing. So it can be long form articles, research that you produce, infographics, images, case studies, podcasts, presentations, webinars. There's so many different types of content you could be producing for your audience. Just have to make sure, just have to think what exactly you want to achieve and who you're talking to. And content marketing also is related to other forms of marketing, like advertising, product marketing, traditional marketing, SEO, public relations. So it all ties in together.
So it's not only what you post online, because people think about it in a way that, what I'm going to post. It's not about publication. It's about how you land your brand into what you communicate. What are your key messages, right?
Exactly. It's about the bigger picture. So content marketing should not be seen as a silo type of marketing. So it's part of your bigger approach, your business objectives, your branding, your brand personality. So it sort of brings everything together, because it is present in many different other channels that brands have available.
Okay, so let's say Katerina, you convince me. We have to do this. Where should I start? Because it sounds like the options are like forever. We have so many options.
Exactly.
I'm convinced we should do this right, and that's actually the goal of the expert pool. Like to have you guided by an expert, because we know that it sounds like good luck with it. It's a lot of work. Bye. We don't want to do that. So these spaces are for actually providing you with these, insights and this good energy to get it started.
Right.
So if I want to start, what should I do?
So in practice, first, you have to start with a little bit of reflection. So if, let's say, you're really starting now with your business and you haven't really formed any buyer personas, or you haven't really put your business objectives in line, this is the moment to do that. Once you know who you're talking to, it's going to be very much, I'm not going to say it's going to be very easy. I'm going to say it's going to be much easier to really act on your strategy. So first, you have to think about your audience, and everybody is not an audience. You don't want to, like so many brands or so many people, I want to sell to as many people as possible. That's not a target audience or a buyer persona method. So you have to think about who is the person that you want to reach, what you want to tell them, why you want to engage in content marketing, and where, of course, where you want to share it. So when it comes to the who, understanding who you're talking to is very, very important. So what you will need to know, probably you have to answer questions like, who is this person? What are their needs? Why would they need your product? Why should they care about you? And what is your unique value proposition? What is that you offer that is different from other brands? So why they should listen to you? A research from HubSpot actually showed that normally when creating a content, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to talk to one person, one specific audience segment. Normally marketers are looking into 3 audience segments to address. So that's a good start. Then when it comes to the what, that's also a big part of your content marketing strategy. And oftentimes brands feel they don't necessarily have a story, or if their story is not interesting enough, the reality is that everybody has a story. You just have to think of the context. So what is the best time to share your content, and also in the content itself? So what is the story about, and when, or what is the piece of content about, and when would be the best moment in your funnel to answer it? So there you have to think also the moment that your audience is at. So if you're talking to somebody that has never heard of your brand before, then it's a different type of approach. If you're talking to someone that knows something about you, a possible lead, then it's a different type of content. Are you talking to somebody that is already interested in your brand, a subscriber, somebody that receives your newsletter? Are you looking to people that have already purchased from you, so you're looking to trigger another purchase? So all these are questions that you have to take a step back and think before you develop your strategy.
So in a nutshell, we have who, what, and when. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so
we also talk about being timely, about
exactly. When. So it's the who, when, where, and why. So all those stuff.
I didn't get it. I mean, maybe I was distracted by the fact that your T-shirt is matching with the thing that you have on the background.
Oh my God, thank you. I always match my outfits.
Everything.
I always match my outfits to the backgrounds.
So you start with the why, of course. It's like, golden circle type of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So the why is why you're doing. What do you want to get out of it? Do you want to increase brand awareness? Do you want to get sales out of it? Do you want to just get leads that later you'll be able to convert? So it really depends on your funnel. So you have to think a lot about your funnel, the different moment that your audience is at, and what you want to achieve at the end of the day, to be able to also measure the success of your content. Then one last thing that it's very important is the where. So the distribution of your content is equally important, because you have to think, if you create an amazing blog post or a super insightful ebook and nobody reads it, what's the point? So you have to think.
My mama will do it.
Yeah.
It's like really popular. All my family is giving me thumbs up.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's having friends and fools. Yeah.
So you have to start with the channels that you have available. Do you have a blog? Do you have a website? Do you need a blog? Or do you have a LinkedIn account? Would a LinkedIn be relevant for you? So all these questions that you have to think.
Basically, like last Monday, we had David talking about media planning. So that's about how you, specifically how you distribute your content across different channels, depending on where are your objectives, of course.
Exactly. So these are all questions that apply also to content marketing.
By the way, we just posted in comments that everybody who's interested in going further about this topic and are a little bit maybe shy to post questions here can book you for 15 minutes call.
Absolutely.
So you can talk to Katerina in the next week about this for free. 15 minutes with Katerina.
101.
Yeah, 101, because that's the really important thing, to see where you're standing, because we're like talking about the potential scenario about you getting started. Sometimes even companies that are like doing it for ages, they do mistakes, So it's also important to fine tune or to optimize or redefine your content strategy, especially because now we have a really specific, situation happening with the corona crisis, and it's time to change, your content again and respond to the situation, like to be timely, what we were talking about the
Exactly.
when, where are we standing now to stay relevant in the end?
Yeah, exactly. And every brand is different, so it's really it has to be thinking about you and your objectives, fit in your content in the wider context.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
definitely.
let's talk more about the myths, because a lot of people are talking about content marketing here and there, and I'm the guru about
Yeah.
this and that, whatever. In the end, it's about what works. So let's talk about those common myths around
Yeah.
content marketing.
The first one is what I mentioned. Just the fact that you have great content doesn't mean that it's going to market itself. Right? It's hard to hear, but it's the truth. So you have to think, you have to optimize your content. You need to have, if we're talking about written content like a blog post, for example, you have to think about your SEO strategy, your keywords, where you share it. So you have to have a distribution plan. So for example, if you have a strong email list, then email marketing would be a way to share your content. So you have to think, what are your strong channels there? Not just focus on the creation of the content.
Okay.
The next is, and it's a bit tough for brands to listen, to hear, is that content should be all about me and my brand. I mean, no. It's tough to tell
In a
somebody.
really polite way, like, no.
No, it's tough to tell brands or entrepreneurs that the world doesn't revolve around you and your
Yeah,
brand.
by the way.
By the way, so it really is what we said in the beginning. You have to focus on your customers, on your target audience, and what is going to be valuable to them, and then how your services can fit in at a later stage. So you have to answer the questions that they have, the issues that they have. Then the next one is, and there needs to be balance. It's about content marketing being all about campaigns. So people are like, okay, I'm just going to create an amazing blog post or create a social media post, and then I'm going to put some budget behind it and promote it on social media. It's a way to distribute your content that can be faster and more measurable, but it's not about this only. So I think this type of distribution, this type of model can work very well for seasonal campaigns, but it's not a long-term strategy. So you have to also focus on being consistent with your content creation, with your distribution, and also think of the organic approach as well.
Okay. So it's not only about saying marketing budget, boom, that's it. Because people think with money you're going to just get sales, and then content is just a secondary thing, and it doesn't matter if I'm consistent or not.
Yeah, it's not feasible in the long term. I think it's not also a reality for many small businesses as well. So you have to think again from for the marathon and not the sprint.
Marathon is great, by the way.
Yes, that's what you do.
Yes.
It applies them in different situations in life. So the next myth is that many people feel like entrepreneurs, brands, even big brands, I feel they don't really have a story to tell. They don't have an interesting story to tell. That is not true. Everybody has a story. Engaging content is a challenge to create, but what is important is for you to be unique, to be authentic, to have your voice, to have your personality out there. And this eventually is going to make you more discoverable, make you stand out of the crowd. So you have to do some soul searching and think, okay, what is that I bring?
Yeah.
As an
Authenticity is key, because some people are like, oh, my English is not good enough, or I'm not doing whatever, because you see all these YouTubers or whoever saying all these super produced things. But for me, what I have realized, also thank you to Katerina Petropoulou, is that, in the beginning I was thinking, oh my God, if I go on video, it's going to be like crazy because I don't know what to do, whatever. Katerina was just telling me, be yourself. And you're natural. And I'm like, really? So when you just do it, and people are then asking me, are you a YouTuber? I'm like, please. But you know what I mean? Like, the only thing that I'm doing is being myself. And when you really speak from that place, you really see a difference. You really see a difference rather than posing or mimicking what is supposed to be good. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And it's about the confidence as well, right? So So definitely. So another myth that I wanted to mention about is that it's about the branding side of content marketing. So it's not content marketing is about, it's not just about creating a brand. It's going to help you tremendously. So I think for most companies, their brand probably is established before they start their content marketing efforts. So in an ideal world, as we said, you already have your brand personality, your voice and tone guidelines established, you have your buyer personas, and then you give content marketing a go. For smaller companies, that might not be their reality. So their content marketing can help you bring out this personality, this your brand story, and help you identify or structure your brand in a better way. But it's not the branding.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's the reality. Most of agencies, when they work on branding, they just deliver you a brand book that is like font, colors. This is the technical aspect of brand.
yeah,
So, like, to be, completely honest, small businesses, they don't have this brand strategy. So
exactly.
normally they start doing just content without thinking about branding. And then
Yeah,
when you need to plug these things together, is the time to check and to go
exactly.
back and maybe do the process opposite, and find what
Exactly.
is your essence by just checking what have you posted so far, how do you think about content within your company,
Exactly.
etc. So I think that's a really nice call to action for the
Yeah,
15-minute call with you, just to check what is your content, where are you coming, where are you standing now, and think about a potential framework that can help you to get started in the right way.
exactly. And and I think to wrap up the myths, I would mention that it's very important to understand that content does have value, yes. So it will help you define the brand. It will bring you leads and sales if you have a plan behind it. And at the end of the day, it will bring authority to your brand.
Yeah.
So it is measurable. It will have a value and impact on your business. And then we talked about video a lot. Video is a format that works, and people think it's expensive. It can be very expensive, and it's not probably realistic for most small brands. But look at us. This is
Yeah.
video content, and it costs. It's not expensive. It's not a super elaborate production. So don't be afraid to create simple content, even if it's just with your phone. Because it's all about authenticity. It's all about sharing value.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated by video. That's my tip. And
My
I think
picture.
the sorry, go ahead. Yes, yes, exactly.
True.
It's
Because
exhibit
just put
A.
yourself out there and see what happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't get discouraged if you don't see results
Yeah.
immediately, because again, content is about the long term. It's not going to work if you expect to put a video out there and for it to go viral immediately. It's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you this right now. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't work immediately. Just keep measuring your metrics. Define. It's important to define your return on investment early on, so that you know how your content marketing is working in the long term.
I'm going to squeeze in a new question here.
Sure.
Metrics. You say let's measure the metrics. What are the key metrics when it comes to content marketing?
So they're definitely tied with your business objectives, but I would say retention is very important. So for example, if let's say if blog is your key, or your website is your key platform of content marketing, then I would look into metrics such as how long people stay on the page, if they read the full content, if I'm creating an ebook, how many people subscribe to receive a newsletter, to receive emails from me, and out of these people, how many become sales, how many am I able to convert, and at what moment. So it really depends. There are some standards in terms of engagement and retention, but it really depends on what you want to achieve.
Cool. So
Yeah.
we could talk about this forever, but we have 1 minute left.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's talk about best practices and key takeaways. Boom.
Takeaways. Don't sell, inform. Define the target audience. Everyone is not an audience. Distribute wisely. Think about your channels. What is going to have the biggest impact? Be consistent. It's not a one-off thing. You have to be, frequently posting and so on, and then measure your results and improve. Nothing is set in stone. You have to constantly evaluate and adapt to your strategy.
Cool, bravissimo, on time.
Right.
Any, just to give a little insight in your world, best practices. Like, can you tell me anything about one case or something that really worked for you, just in your day-to-day life as a content marketer?
I have to think. Actually, I can think about an influencer marketing tool because later in my current job, I've been looking for influencer marketing strategies, trying to build a strategy. There's a really good tool. It's called Aspire IQ, if I'm not mistaken, and they have such rich resources.
Nice.
And I think I was thinking to myself, that's a great content marketing case study because they built an authority. They focus a lot on creating valuable content resources for their audience. And right now, when I'm evaluating other tools, they're first in mind. So that's what content marketing is all about.
Oh my God, we have questions from David here, but we need to wrap it up. So let's reply to all the questions via comments directly in the event, and also share this tool that you just recommended. And I'm just going to say thank you, Katerina, for today, forever. We should be continue. I think that this type of content about content marketing should be continued,
Yeah.
And of course, I invite you to our upcoming events. Every Monday, we're going to be like, drinking coffee over really nice topics with our experts. And every Thursday, we have our webinars, workshops, expert demos, more elaborate content that we create for 1 hour. So the one that is closing this whole month is called being a better leader in your business and life, work-life balance, leadership in times of corona crisis by our expert Nelson. So everything is going to be in the comments. And yeah, thank you, Katerina, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for the coffee.
Yes. Okay, stay with me in the comments so we can reply to some questions. And yeah, don't forget, book Katerina. She's available for the next week for free calls, on this topic. Grazie, amiga. Thank you.
You.
Obrigado.
Bye-bye. See you at the comments.